This is massive. I don't think that we even right now can put a label on how historic this is. And I think the week that it happened, hitting the 2-year mark of this horrific war between Israel and Hamas. And I think really the big thing here is, Sean, the players that Trump was able to bring together and how he was able to work with Prime Minister Netanyahu. And anybody that knows politics and knows Netanyahu also understands kind of the bipolar relationship that he has had with so many different presidents. And I think that the prime minister came into this administration really thinking that he could wield some power over Trump. And it really has happened the opposite way here. But just the people that Trump has brought to the table and really approach this in an unorthodox way. And I think that's what it needed.
Blessed be the peacemakers.
God bless you, Mr. President. God bless America.
Thank you very much. You just take care of yourselves. The hostages will come back. They're all coming back on Monday.
All
All right, guys, welcome to the show. We're on a glide path to I wish I would say a beautiful weekend, but apparently it's going to rain here in the mid-Atlantic. But you know what? It's been a fantastic week and a little time inside doing some of those things that I've avoided. Not a bad time to do that. President Trump apparently heading to the Middle East, big cabinet meeting this morning, listing all the cabinets. I've always said, you guys know this, we'll break it down later, but I love cabinet meetings because I feel like everybody gets called to task. And every 30 days, it's like, what have you done? What have you done? And you can't hide in a Trump cabinet meeting. There's no hiding. There's no like, hey, Mr. President, can I go to the bathroom? I'll come right back. No, it doesn't work that way. But a massive breakthrough on this deal for peace in the Middle East, like a historic one. Hostages to be released. The president saying he may head over there, address the Knesset. We'll see further details. And then the Nobel Peace Prize announced tomorrow. But there's a catch. And I'm going to break that down with the panel in just a second. The government continues to shut down, but I think there might be some cracks. I'll get to the panel with that as well. Tomorrow, Robert Cahaly, pollster extraordinaire. A lot bringing in the polling world. Races in Virginia, New Jersey. Big debate last night in New Jersey. Big debate tonight in Virginia. We'll break it all down with him. And then speaking of Virginia, on Monday, the gubernatorial candidate, Winsome Earl-Sears, she will be with us later in the week. Senator Eric Schmidt, he's been doing a lot on censorship. If you are listening on the audio version, thank you very much. Please give us a 5-star review. If you're listening on any other platform, please go to the audio version and give us a 5-star review. I know a lot of you, sometimes you're driving, but you really are dedicated to the show. And so you say, hey, I'll listen to it in the car. Thank you for doing that. We continue to grow on all platforms, but the more that you can subscribe and rate us, that's always awesome. I appreciate that. So even if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, X, Rumble, you name it, it's always super helpful if you go to the audio and subscribe as well, just in case. You never know. You don't know. That's the beauty of the show. We're everywhere. We're everywhere. Anyway, before I bring in the panel, it is a very, very brisk fall day here. And you know what I'm looking forward to already, even now? Crawling into bed in my Boll Branch sheets, because there's nothing better than curling up in a nice fall night with these beautiful, breathable, organic cotton sheets. And they are that. I love these things. I told you guys before, literally the first night we slept on the Boll Branch sheets, my wife's like, we're getting another pair. I used my code to get my own second pair of sheets, but I've got a better deal for you coming your way in just a second. They get softer and more luxurious every time. This is like staying in that really nice hotel that you do on an expense account or someone else's dime. Yeah, that hotel where you're like, I wish my bed felt like that bed. Boll Branch sheets are just like that. These things are buttery from the start. They only get better. They're breathable. So I get hot at night. I know, too much information. That's why I love Boll Branch sheets. So start building your own little sanctuary in your bedroom this fall with Boll Branch sheets for a limited time. This is where it gets really good. You get 20% off. I only got 15 on my own deal. I'm now going to give you 20. Yeah, that's right. Plus free shipping. So go to bollandbranch.com/Spicer. You have to enter it exactly like that. Boll and then A-N-D, not the ampersand. bollandbranch.com/Spicer. You get 20% off and free shipping. You guys, that's the deal of the century. Do it now. This is like Black Friday in October. All right, before I go, you guys have seen what's going on in air traffic control. Delays, cancellations, even some scary stuff the other day in New York with 2 planes colliding. That's because our air traffic control is massively outdated, decades outdated. Luckily, President Trump and the big, beautiful bill included billions of dollars to upgrade our air traffic controller, make it safer, more reliable, more on time, all that. Luckily, there's a company here in the United States that's got the people, the innovation, and the technology. They've been working in the national security space, NASA, the Department of Defense, Department of War actually now, and helping to upgrade all these systems. They are the company that could be the right answer, the right solution to help use these resources that President Trump has put in place. It's called Peraton. And if you go to Peraton, Peraton.com/ATC, you can check them out. There's no buy, there's nothing, there's no discount code. We just want you to know about them. You want to see the availability of amazing companies like Peraton when it comes to using and utilizing great American people to upgrade systems that will benefit us all. So go to Peraton.com/ATC, air traffic control. So Peraton.com/ATC to check out the choices that we have right now. The future of air travel is here, and these folks can meet it. Without further ado, though, I want to bring in our amazing Thursday panel. My former colleague, independent journalist now extraordinaire, Lindsay Keith. Welcome back to the show. My buddy over there at the Daily Signal, the leader in independent media at the forefront from my days at the White House, Mr. Rob Bluey. Welcome back. And the woman who will never give us a lib take. No, the leader of the non-lib take, Miss Erin Wexler, is back. Good to see you guys. Let's just start with this. Lindsay, I'll start with you. How big of a deal do you, I mean, like, when you heard about this deal, give us a sense of what you think the magnitude is this in terms of like previous presidents or history, how it will judge what the deal is between Israel and Hamas.
Yeah, it's great to be with you, Sean, and Aaron and Rob as well. This is massive. I don't think that we even right now can put a label on how historic this is. And I think the week that it happened, hitting the 2-year mark of this horrific war between Israel and Hamas. And I think really the big thing here is, Sean, the players that Trump was able to bring together and how he was able to work with Prime Minister Netanyahu. And anybody that knows politics and knows Netanyahu also understands kind of the bipolar relationship that he has had with so many different presidents. And I think that the prime minister came into this administration really thinking that he could wield some power over Trump. And it really has happened the opposite way here. But just the people that Trump has brought to the table and really approach this in an unorthodox way. And I think that's what it needed. It needed to bring not just politicians. There was a lot of criticism for Steve Witkoff coming in or even Jared Kushner, but I think that's what it needed. And you also think about some of the criticism that President Trump has taken over the years from cozying up to some of these Middle East leaders. But really, that's what it took for you have these Arab nations that needed to get on board and have a comprehensive approach here. And Trump brought all those players to the table. I mean, you're talking about Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt, and obviously then he never wavered on his support for Israel as well, which I think is really hard to do here because you've seen almost every other nation in the world kind of shift course after October 7th happened, 2 years ago. You might remember it was like, I think a month or two where everybody was on Israel's side. And then after that, once we saw the devastation was happening in Gaza, you really saw so many countries kind of divert and start to criticize Israel for how they handled the war. So for President Trump to be able to bring all these players together and really the strategy that it took for this moment to happen, I think is unprecedented. It can't even be matched. And what he did with the Abraham Accords in his first term was incredible. But this is just really next level because anybody who understands, last thing I'll say here, the complication of the chess pieces that have to move for anything to happen in the Middle East. We're not just talking, these are deep-rooted issues and really the hatred and the frustration that's gone on in that region for, centuries, for him to be able to meet this moment, it really is unbelievable.
Aaron, go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, picking up on Lindsay's point about the Abraham Accords, I really don't think President Trump gets enough credit, not only for what he started in his first term, but the 7 peace deals that he talks about prior to this one. And he has been portrayed unfairly in the national news media as somebody who's, where there was fears that he would be a warmonger and put our troops in harm's way. And if anything, he's demonstrated that, at least in my lifetime, he is the president of peace. And he is somebody who is truly committed to bringing these sides together that have been fighting for years, if not centuries. And in this particular case, I agree with Lindsay. This is going to be a hard deal for anybody to criticize because it is so monumental and historic.
Aaron, Howard Lutnick was with some of the families of the hostages, and he played a video. I want to play it just for our audience and then get you to react on how big this is for them.
What do you guys have to say to President Trump?
Thank you. You did it.
Thank you. This is amazing. Mr. President, we believe in you. We know you've done so much for us over the past, since you became a president, and even before that. And we trust you fulfill the mission until every hostage, every 48 of the hostages are home. Thank you so much. Blessed be the peacemakers.
God bless you, Mr. President. God bless America.
Thank you very much. You just take care of yourselves. The hostages will come back. They're all coming back on Monday.
All the
Aaron, I can't imagine having a family member or a friend taken hostage and then getting that phone call.
Yeah, Sean, I mean, it's a very emotional time. That clip is, I have goosebumps all over my body from watching it. But to quote the great philosopher Michael Scott, I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious. I am a cautious woman. And until those hostages are actually released, I am not popping any champagne bottles. Regardless of what actually happens, Trump deserves all the credit here. He deserves the Nobel Prize. We all know that. But when it comes to the actual mechanics of what's about to happen, I'm still very cautious. We are still dealing with terrorists. God forbid, but I have the sinking feeling that a lot of the hostages are coming back in body bags, and we have to be realistic about what this really means. Either way, we are at the beginning of the end, hopefully, of this war. I am someone I'm in, honestly, more prayers for the hostages WhatsApp groups than there are hostages at this point. So this is something that is always at the front of my mind. So it's a bittersweet is not quite the right word, but it's a moment with tempered expectations of what's really going to happen for the families, while still feeling a lot of hope that soldiers are coming home, hostages are coming home, and that we will have calm for everyone in the region.
Yeah, go ahead, Lindsay.
Can I say something else, John? I think something is really important to point out, and I'm reminded of Inauguration Day when President Trump had the hostages families on stage with him. And he really has talked about this, and it's been a crux, not to compare him too much to Netanyahu, that the hostage families have criticized Prime Minister Netanyahu because he always had these two goals, which was to bring the hostages home and defeat Hamas and eradicate them from Gaza. And it proved that he was having a really hard time doing both of those. President Trump has always put the hostages at the forefront, fighting. And you've really seen, I've talked to so many people in Israel who have said, we love President Trump more than anybody else, even more than Netanyahu. He is their hero, specifically because of this hostage deal, because he has put those families at the forefront. He had Edon Alexander and his family twice now in the Oval Office just this week on October 7th, and really making their stories the forefront of this, because this is so horrific in many ways. These people who gut-wrenching for 2 years now to have their families missing, and some of them, as Aaron said, coming home in body bags, which is just, you can't even imagine what they've gone through these past 2 years.
And if we could add one thing just to give Trump more credit, we've all forgotten, because he's done so much, that he sent the B-2s and to Iran. And I have friends in Israel, family members, sending me messages saying, under no other president, right? Thank God for President Trump. They were sitting in their basements and their bomb shelters with missiles coming from Iran, and Trump also took that out. So there's a lot more quiet and a lot more stability in the Middle East because of President Trump.
First of all, I love this discussion because you guys have brought up so many aspects of this, like the complication nature of this, the unorthodox nature. Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are not career diplomats. Career diplomats could have not done this. And Lindsay, to your point, like this is, I don't think you can overstate your point about the chess match, because you've got these Arab states, you've got Hamas, a terrorist organization, as Aaron points out, you've got Israel, and each of them you're literally holding it together with duct tape and saying one small move gets rid of the other one, right? And so he's kept them all together for the greater good. And I gotta say, like, to Aaron's point, I think this is what she was alluding to. Like, I can't imagine how much disgust there is if you're an Israeli citizen or a Jew and thinking we're making a deal with these people that created this unprovoked attack took people hostage, killed women and children, and it takes a lot not to be outraged by the fact that they're happening. You have to truly get that there's a greater good and a long-term good in this. And that takes a lot. So to hold that in and agree to this really speaks to the volume of what's happening. But Aaron alluded to this. I want to point out a very obvious thing that's happening. Tomorrow, the Nobel Peace Prize is announced. In under any other circumstances, it would be a no-brainer. The word out of the reporting was that they made their final decision on Monday before this happened. Okay. So there's obviously, I guess, I don't know. I don't sit on the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, unfortunately. But there's obviously a way that they could amend something. Who knows? I don't know the particulars of this. But it looks like, I would say the odds are not stacked in President Trump's favor in terms of the timing. These people don't like him. And I think now they'd have to give it to him. But I want to go around the horn. I actually do worry about the reaction because most people aren't going to get the process and be like, oh, well, it was decided a week ago. And he really, even though he only solved 7 wars prior to that, so do you think, one, that there's any chance he still gets it? And two, what will be the reaction when he don't? Because most people are going to go, I don't get it. How did this not happen and not realize the timeline? Rob?
Well, Sean, you're absolutely right. The global elites despise Donald Trump, and I think that I would be shocked if they gave him the Nobel Prize, even if the deadline had been another day and this news had come out earlier. Yeah. I still think it would have been a stretch. Now he deserves it. Let me say that. I think that Claudia Tenney and others who have advocated here in Washington for Donald Trump to receive this are right in their justification for why even before this historic deal. As for the reaction among those who are the biggest fans of Donald Trump, I suspect there will be great disappointment and a lot of gnashing of teeth over the next 24 hours if this does not happen as they would expect. But they have been accustomed to seeing how the establishment and elites have treated him over the last decade. And so I don't necessarily know it'll come as a huge shock to them either.
Aaron?
I don't think anyone's going to be surprised if he doesn't get it. Same points, right? We saw them award Barack Obama the Nobel Prize for just not being George Bush, right? So that's really when all credibility went out the window. I haven't taken a look recently at what they've awarded in the sciences, and I don't pay attention to exactly what's going on over there. But I would imagine that we've gone from awarding people who, came up with the polio vaccine to just probably awarding people who hired DEI folks for their research labs. So I imagine overall this award means a lot less, but it would certainly be something if they did award this to Trump. And we all agree, he did so many things before this. I thought he should get the Nobel Prize long before this deal. And we're also still in the middle of it. So who knows at this point? Listen, Coca-Cola came out and did a Coke for Trump. We've seen McDonald's came out saying we're happy President Trump was here. I think certain things in the culture have shifted, that it is still possible they could have chosen President Trump for this. I'm actually a little optimistic, which is not my flavor usually.
I think that people need to temper their expectations for tomorrow. But I also would give hope to this in some ways. I have so many thoughts around this. The applications were actually due back in January, I think January 31st or something. So I think it's probably unlikely he'll get it unless, to your point, Sean, they do an amendment. He no doubt deserves it, full stop. And not only for this, for so many other things, and not just in this term. You go back to the Abraham Accords, which were historic. You look at Jimmy Carter, who got it for Camp David Accords. And so you should have had that in kind, essentially. And then even some people said the COVID vaccine, which you look at the red tape that he cut for that to happen in his first term. No one gives him enough credit for that, I don't think. And so no doubt he deserves it. If he doesn't get it tomorrow, definitely he should get it in 2026 because so many people have nominated him at this point, even Netanyahu, other leaders, Azerbaijan, you have Congo president who said he would elect him, and so many other people who would come out now, I think. So if he doesn't get it this year, he should get it next year. But I actually also think that it helps him if he doesn't get it in many ways. Kind of goes to the chip on his shoulder that he doesn't fall in line with what everybody else does. And so I think it helps him in many ways. But to Aaron's point, you have seen a 180 with how the elites have treated Trump in Trump one versus Trump 2.0. I even am reminded of, you had all of those tech CEOs who were like at this roundtable all praising him. You would have never just a few months ago.
No, they quit. In the first term, they literally quit a panel.
You would have never seen that ever, literally. So the amount of people praising him now and giving him credit, I think when people can see, you can love him or hate him. But even this morning, I was watching a lot of media, and there were so many people praising him, people that do not like him. And I think you will continue to see that, because when you have something this historic, you actually look like an idiot if you don't come out and give praise where praise is due.
Exactly. By the way, to your point, Barack Obama in 2009 got it because of the potential of future doing something. He hadn't actually done it. They said the promise of potentially doing something. Yeah. I mean, that's literally getting an A because they look in, they go, you know what, you look like a smart guy. We're going to give you the A right now. And then,
and Sean, back to this point, if nominations are due January 31st, it literally means that somebody would have done essentially nothing since he got it in his first year.
Right.
So it's that really was
That's
so
a good point. I didn't think with Trump, he'd already done stuff in January and October.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, let's move to the government shutdown. I just want to quick thoughts on who do you think is winning the messaging war? Not right. I think this has been an interesting last few days in terms of there's a lot about air traffic controllers not getting paid, military not getting paid. So Rob, I'll start with you. Who's winning the messaging war, and how and when do you think it ends?
Well, I have been impressed, Sean, that Speaker Mike Johnson and Leader John Thune are out there every single day doing media availability on the airwaves. I think that there was a report out that they're doing significantly more than the Democrats. So just in terms of their presence in front of the camera, I think that they have played the right strategy in that regard. They need to be on offense in this particular case. Leader Thune has now floated this idea of bringing up the defense appropriations bill, which would allow them to reopen the government agency by agency. I think it'll be very difficult if he decides to go down that road for Democrats to vote against funding for our troops. That'll put them in a really tough spot. And then the last point I'll make on this is that interaction between Mike Lawler and Hakeem Jeffries yesterday, where Hakeem Jeffries was unable to answer any of the questions that Mike Lawler was posing to him, not just on the shutdown, but also on Zohra Mamdani, I think made Hakeem Jeffries just out to be a political fool that he really is. And it exposed that he's not interested in really reopening the government and signing on to this legislation that Lawler asked him to do. This is done solely for political purposes on his part.
Before we get to Aaron, I want to play just a second, a clip of that so people know what you're talking about. This is Hakeem Jeffries and actually Mike Johnson kind of confronting Hakeem Jeffries and why he's not signing on. Take a look.
Did you get permission from your boss?
Why don't we sign on right now?
Did your boss, Donald Trump?
You can easily extend
did your
the ACA
Did your
right
boss,
now.
Donald Trump,
He's
give
not
you
my
permission?
boss.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. And by the way,
So let me ask you a
why
question.
did you vote to
Let me
shut
ask
the
you a
government
question.
down?
You
Why
know
did you
I-
vote to shut it
Let me
down?
ask you a question.
For years, you
Well,
always lectured about how we need to
you're
keep the
making
government
a,
open.
You're making a show of this to
No,
make
it's
yourself
sad.
relevant.
It's sad. You could
It's
easily
an
sign on to
You're
this.
embarrassing
You
yourself
could
right
sign
now.
on to this. The only
You're
embarrassment
chasing
here is
clout.
you.
You're an
You
embarrassment.
could sign on to the bill.
Let me ask you a question.
You have 4 Democrats on here.
Let me
Why
ask you a
won't you
question.
sign on
Let me ask
to
you a
it?
question.
It's a
Let
clean
me ask
extension
you a
for 1
question.
year.
You voted for the one big
Clean
ugly bill,
extension.
correct?
I voted for a
The
tax cut
largest-
bill that gave the
the
largest
largest
tax
cut-
cut
the
to
largest-
Americans in history,
the
including, by
largest-
the way, the average New Yorker getting a $4,000 tax cut. Are you against that?
You're embarrassing
Do you want
yourself right
to
now.
cut the standard deduction in
The
half? Is that
largest
what you
cut
want
to
to do?
All right. But needless to say, it doesn't get much better. But that's Mike Lawler of New York presenting Hakeem Jeffries, Aaron, with a 1-year extension of it. And Hakeem Jeffries, I actually was I love a good game, Aaron. And I felt like Hakeem Jeffries let me down. I don't have high expectations for him, but I was like, dude, he kept being like, you're an embarrassment. You're an embarrassment. Have you gotten permission to do that? I was like, dude, come on, up the game, brother. That was not good, Aaron.
Yeah. No, they're not even good at the fake drama, the fake outrage. I always say Hakeem Jeffries is the main character of the Real Housewives of Congress. I mean, the man literally face tunes his thighs on Instagram posts. So I'm not surprised by any of this behavior. If you guys remember that was a couple months ago that he did that.
I want to
see on the bench. It was all warped in a photo he posted. He needs to get a woman to edit his thighs because apparently he's very sensitive to that. But I don't know who he's kidding. Because funny enough, all their messaging, I think they really want it to go to the bisexual baristas of Gen Z that they want votes from. And those people aren't paying attention to what's going on right now. Like I don't think half of them even know we're in a government shutdown. The people who are aware we're in a government shutdown, I believe, do know that the Dems are trying to push $1.5 trillion in extra spending, that they're pushing for health care for illegals. People know that they've been presented with options that they refuse to take for no good reason. And instead of saying, in that clip, Hakeem Jeffries, if he had legitimate claims, he could have said, what about these following items that we're trying to get done for the American people? And instead, it's all ad hominem attacks, or not. They're not even clever enough to come up with those kinds of attacks. It looks like a Jersey Shore scene, right? Where all the cameras are around them and he just keeps saying the same thing. I don't know. It's not even entertaining at this point. It's not even good drama.
It was bad. It was sort of like, to your point, like he could have just said, I'll do that if you agree to healthcare. I'll do that. Like, but he was just like, you're ugly. Like,
it's just noise. I don't even know what he was saying. It just sounded like noise echoing in the hall of nothing. Right?
It was hard to watch. It actually was very hard to watch because it was poorly performed. But, the interesting thing is, as you mentioned, this ACA extension that Mike Lawler is holding up, 11 Democrats actually signed on to it. So it's not like unthinkable that you would have the minority leader actually say, yeah, let's have a conversation about this. I think, one of the things that Republicans could do better is what Mike Lawler is doing. Now, I don't love how he approached all that, but he is here in Washington, D.C. saying, hey, let's have a conversation. And I think that's something that Mike Johnson could do as well. Just bring back all the Republicans to say, let's have a conversation, because that's one of the things that you have Democrats. That's one of their talking points, that Republicans won't have a conversation. So bring back all the Republican conference and say, we're here, let's talk, because I think that doesn't look good when you're not willing to negotiate. But if you have all the Republican conference to negotiate, I think that would be winning the messaging more.
Rob Bluey, I want to take this up a step on what Lindsay's talking about. This is what I don't get. Right now, you've got a bunch of military personnel in particular. Now, just full caveat, Border Patrol, FBI, ATF, all great Americans working, okay? But from a political standpoint, small p, if I were him, I'd call, to Lindsay's point, the conference back in and say, great, the defense, we're calling up, because they've already passed it. The House has passed all 12 bills. Force the Senate to say, great, let's pay our troops, pass the defense, name conferees, that's the technical process, right? And jam it. And John Thune yesterday is like, well, if we do this, I'm like, do you guys understand you're in control? Thune was like, well, they could object to it. Okay. Do they not know they're in control? Like, I am so disappointed, to Lindsay's point. Call them back in, jam them, vote on military pay, and then one by one go, okay, next, we're voting on Border Patrol. Next, we're voting on this. And make Democrats take difficult votes about who they don't want to pay. And right now, there's 12 bills, so everyone understands this. Slowly just jam them on each one. Who do you not want to get paid? Air traffic controllers? Okay, good. We'll let them know. Who else don't you want to get paid? Doctors and lawyers that work for the Department of Health and Human Services and the CDC? Got it. Okay, but force the Democrats into a box. Don't send everyone home. I honest to God, when I saw John Thune yesterday, the Republican leader, say, well, we'd have to get consent from the Democrats to move the bill forward, I was like, are you nuts? You're in charge. You're the majority leader.
Sean, the best part about this strategy is that this is how Congress is actually supposed to operate. The regular appropriations process is to pass these 12 bills before September 30th so that you fund the government. You don't have to be in a situation where you pass a continuing resolution or an omnibus spending bill, which are some of the things that conservatives have been complaining about for years. It's one of the reasons why they held up the speaker vote for Kevin McCarthy and others, because they wanted a commitment that they would go through the regular appropriations process. So I'm with you. I think that they should do this. Apparently, Susan Collins, the senator from Maine, who's facing a tough re-election fight potentially with Janet Mills getting in that race now, she's the appropriations chairman in the Senate. She's apparently on board with this idea. And so you could see it perhaps move forward. I think you're right. If the Democrats decide to oppose this particular strategy that the Republicans might pursue, again, it just is a glaring black eye for Chuck Schumer that he's unwilling to compromise or do anything to reopen the government. And everybody's pointing to this October 18th No Kings protest across the country as the date that Schumer's waiting to get through, because he realizes that if he doesn't if he doesn't hold out at least until then, he might face even growing anger from his left-wing radicals. But I don't know. That's a long time from now.
Wait, just so people understand what Rob just said, and you probably have more details than I do, but like there's a big protest planned where the libs all get together and are going to say there's no kings, right?
Right. That's the one. Yes.
Okay. So they want to keep the government shut down. I'm looking at the calendar here for 10 more days so that they can have a rally to say Chuck Schumer's awesome.
Yeah, basically, I mean, that's the fear that Schumer is facing this pressure from the left. So is Hakeem Jeffries. And let's face it, both of those men are from New York. They've refused to endorse the socialist candidate for mayor in New York City. So they are in a spot within their own party where the left-wing faction is putting tremendous pressure on them. And so there's a number of things that they think they're trying to navigate on their own side of the aisle, and they're putting our country and the troops and all of those law enforcement individuals that you talked about, Sean, in a position now where we're expecting them to show up for work and not get paid.
And by the way, if they wait till October 19th, then that's after the October 15th deadline when you have your first round of government employees that won't start getting paid. So if they're willing to wait, that's just insane if that's what they're willing to wait for.
Aaron, this is this is Hakeem Jeffries was on CNBC this morning. I just want you to listen to the question that he gets asked and like the first 2 seconds of his response, because this just shows you the reality of what we're talking about. Take a look.
Government open and then going into the normal appropriations process. I mean, there was an election and the Republicans were put in a position where they were able to pass the big, beautiful bill, or you call it the big, ugly bill. To then say, we don't like any of that, so we're going to shut down the government until you take back all the things that you duly passed through legislation. If Republicans had tried to do that to the Inflation Reduction Act or any of the acts that Biden and that administration have passed, if they said, we're going to shut down the government because we don't like any of those things you did, we're going to not pay our military, we're going to, not allow the government to reopen until you do what we want. After an election where the American people put Democrats in power, you'd be going crazy. You'd be going crazy about using a shutdown of the government with a continuing resolution to get what you want just because you don't like what the Republicans did. It's not how it works. It's bad. It's bad precedent, and it's just clear. And you're talking about the House. You've already passed this. The Senate is who we're talking about, and they have a bill which will reopen the government right now with 5 more Democrats.
What is bad precedent is the Republican refusal to engage in bipartisan negotiations.
Okay. So, I mean, you get it. By the way, Hakeem Jeffries, who 13 times has voted for, said that continuing resolutions are the way forward. You should never hold the government hostage. Suddenly now is mealy mouth.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if I'm part of an experiment, if we're all part of an experiment in suicide coercion with the way Democrats act in this country. I mean, it's so unbelievable. They're all still getting paid. They don't mind watching federal workers go without their paychecks a lot. And we know most Americans live paycheck to paycheck, especially, I mean, I know a lot of federal workers should not have their jobs. It's kind of like being a tenured professor, but still there are a lot of hardworking Americans, our own military. They're not getting money in their bank accounts. The fact that they're doing all of this for show is just, again, they're political terrorists at this point. They're just holding the government hostage for theater, and it's completely inexcusable.
I will say the one thing that worries me, Rob Bluey, more than anything else, is that we open the government back up. The Democrats have this demand to keep the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, subsidies in place, which we know are rife with fraud. And Republicans had better be very clear that if we get to this phase, that we're not just going to kick the can down the road and buy into an extension of that.
I agree, and that is one area where I think Republicans right now should strengthen their messaging, because this is a program that was supposed to expire. The Democrats were the one that put in the sunset date for this to expire. Let's not forget.
Yes.
They're the ones that are now demanding that we extend it. Joe Biden ended the COVID emergency 2 years ago. And so we still have these COVID era subsidies that we now apparently are going to extend indefinitely. And Republicans know that this money goes directly to the insurance companies. They are the ones putting pressure. There are so many strong arguments that Republicans could be making against this program right now that I don't hear them making. I hope that they really ratchet up the pressure on Democrats on this.
Yeah, I mean, to me, to your point, COVID's over, subsidies end. This is insane. I do want to pivot, though. We've got an election. We're now less than 30 days to these elections, big ones, New Jersey and Virginia. I want to start with Virginia. Jay Jones is the Democrat nominee for Attorney General. We all heard what happened with him, releasing these texts saying, I want to put, if I had two bullets, and it was Hitler, Pol Pot, and Todd Gilbert, the former Speaker of the Virginia House of Delegates. I'd use both of them on Gilbert, and then I'd want to watch his wife, watch his kids, watch his wife suffer. I mean, this isn't a one-off joke. This is, someone put thought into that. And I think the Democrats are suffering. Jason Miyares, the current incumbent Republican Attorney General of Virginia, Lindsay, put out a new ad. I want to show you the ad, and then we'll talk about it on the flip. Take a look.
I'm Jason Miyares, candidate for Attorney General, and I sponsored this ad.
Democrats and Republicans are condemning old text messages that emerged from Democratic candidate Jay Jones.
Jay Jones, the Democratic nominee for Virginia Attorney General, is accused of sending a former legislative colleague text suggesting he would like to shoot the Speaker of the House of Delegates.
Quote, Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head.
Quote, he wished Gilbert's wife could watch her own child die in her arms so that Gilbert might reconsider his political views.
Jay Jones wished violence on the children of a colleague.
How can Virginians trust a man who said something so horrific, so callously? Isn't that type of rhetoric disqualifying for someone who's seeking statewide office here in Virginia?
I wish that I hadn't done it. I wish I hadn't said it.
It is disgusting and unbecoming of a public official.
Jones is facing calls now to step down from the race. Some say he's not fit to serve as Attorney General.
Lindsay, are you shocked that no Democrat on record so far has asked him to step down?
Yeah. I mean, this is unacceptable language, even, to have in a text message to somebody. If that's what's in your heart and it has come out publicly, then you should not be a public servant of a state in this great nation. I think that especially after the violence that this country has seen in the last year, most recently with the killing of Charlie Kirk, that this type of rhetoric has to be cast down. And, it's very interesting to me because I was so impressed with how many Democrats came out and publicly denounced what happened to Charlie Kirk. But now you fast forward and where are those people? We have to have a collective response. It cannot just be one side or the other, or in big moments when someone actually dies and is murdered, that we have bipartisan support to stop having rhetoric like this in our country. And so we need people to rise up on both sides, but specifically if it's your side, to call people. And, if I'm a Virginian, then, which I have been many times in the past, I'm not comfortable with someone on the ticket that has
wants to be the Attorney General, the top law enforcement in the Commonwealth, who says it's okay to put, and it was just a joke. I mean,
no,
to be honest with you,
cannot joke in this day and age. You cannot joke about anything like that, and to say that that's a joke is insane. That's just uncalled for.
But a joke is like
no one has said anything publicly.
A joke is like, "Hey, I'm so mad, Rob Bluey, I could kill you." That's not funny. It's not acceptable. But that's like, okay. But to be like, "Hey, I've really thought this through. I've thought about how he'd want his wife to react." I mean, that's a sick man. And
it is sick. And on a personal level, Sean, I'm hoping that he is remorseful, but there needs to be accountability here, and that's what Lindsay's getting at, and you're asking about. There is just a lack of accountability on the left and among Democrats right now for Jay Jones. I do think with the debate tonight between Abigail Spanberger and Winsome Earl Sears, this could be a centerpiece of the conversation. And let's face it, it was 4 years ago when Terry McAuliffe made a comment that was not nearly as controversial as what Jay Jones said, that was the turning point in in that particular election with Glenn Youngkin. And so it remains to be seen. We know that historically Republicans are in a tough spot, given that the incumbent party in Washington tends to have its party underperform in these off-year elections. However, Jason Miyares is a known figure in the Commonwealth of Virginia. He's been serving admirably for 4 years. I think if anybody among those 3 statewide candidates could pull this off, it's probably him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I firmly believe, by the way, just again, for the record, Jack Ciattarelli is going to win in New Jersey and will carry all 3 constitutional officers in Virginia. This is a watershed moment, exactly like the Terry McAuliffe 4 years ago. Aaron, though, he wasn't the only one behaving badly. There's this viral video of Katie Porter, former congresswoman from California, running for governor, the lead candidate for governor, by the way. And I think a lot of people saw the interview that she did, right? So she has this interview that went viral. Okay, you think that was stupid, that was bad. But then we start hearing about the fact that she put scalding hot mashed potatoes on her husband's head to burn him. He's apparently bald, so that would really hurt. Just FYI. And then we start finding out how she treats her staff and colleagues. I want to play you a clip. She's in the middle of a Zoom or some kind of video conference, and this is how she treats her staff. Take a look.
Dying prematurely to air pollution and other problems, and the state could lose. Get out of my shot.
I wanted to tell you that that's actually incorrect. It's not that it's electric vehicles. It's that if we don't meet the commitments under the Paris Climate Accord.
Okay, it does. Okay, you also were in my shot before that. Stay out of my shot. Okay, I'm going to start again with electric vehicles saving us money.
So, by the way, if you're listening to the audio version, one of her staffers, you can see her come into this video shot that she's doing to explain this. And then that's what she says on the video. Like, what? Aaron,
no, you can't listen, Sean. You can't be stupid, fat, and mean. That's just a trifecta that you are not allowed to be. Okay. And there are a few things here, but think about how strategically dumb she is. Let's just say you're a terrible person. There are lots of terrible people, especially in government. So to not even have the wherewithal, to not even have the EQ and like strategic mind to realize that those are moments that are important. And also in her interviews, right? We see the mask slipping so fast. You know, Gavin Newsom, I don't think he's a good guy, but the guy knows how to be charming in an interview. Right. She can't even be charming when she's trying to be. But again, I actually think, and this goes back to what we were discussing before, which is Democrats are, I mean, they reveal a lot. They show the violence, the aggression, the cruelty in their nature, but it does appeal to a lot of their voters. This is the party where a lot of their voters were celebrating Luigi Mangione, right? This is the same exact party. So I unfortunately think a lot of these moments don't have an effect on their voters in the way we would like them to. It's also hard to find moments like this on the right. I don't think you can find someone on the right calling for violence against anyone on the left. I'm sure these moments do exist. People aren't always nice to their staff. Have we seen anything like this on our side? It's unbelievable.
There's some people that are pulling out video, but not like this. All right, I want to get to winners and losers because it's a Thursday and this is what I love. We've got a little bit of time left. Lindsay, Keith, who do you think won the week and who lost the week?
Donald Trump definitely won the week, especially with the Israel-Hamas news. I mean, as we already talked about for quite a length of time, this is historic and incredible. And even if he doesn't win the Nobel Peace Prize tomorrow, it doesn't matter. This will go down in history forever. I think Katie Porter is the loser of the week because the clip that you just showed actually came out after she essentially walked out of an interview. And as the top candidate for governor in California, you know, it's very concerning. It's one thing to yell at your staff and be a jerk. It's another thing to not be able to sit through an interview with basic questions and want to get up and walk away, and how she responded. So if you haven't seen this clip of her being interviewed, Google it, because really, to me, if you're going to be a public facing person and you want to be a governor of a state, then you have to know how to speak to journalists. And if you can't do that and you can't take tough questions, and I don't think these were tough questions that the journalist was asking, they were good questions, but not tough, then you have no place to be running for governor. And I think everyone should see that. Every Californian should see that, because
I have a feeling that'll come up in a couple ads.
Yeah, so she's my loser of the week.
Rob Bluey, who won and lost?
Well, I'll stick with Lindsay's theme. Since she picked President Trump as the winner, I'll take Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, who were behind the scenes doing a lot of the negotiations. And Sean, as we alluded to earlier, were just treated horribly by so many in the legacy media for their efforts. And so they really do deserve the credit here for helping to get this across the finish line. Obviously, pending the final release, which we'll pray about here in the coming days. Now, in terms of loser, I'm going to go with New Jersey because Mickey Sherrill, the Democrat candidate there, has seen her lead vanish. Jack Ciattarelli, who you mentioned earlier, is surging, and coming off the debate last night, I think is in a strong position. Just as Donald Trump made significant gains last year in 2024, I think New Jersey could be turning red, believe it or not.
I do too. Aaron, you had a great op-ed in the Washington Times. Is that going to be your winner? I was going to bring it up.
It's so funny you say that. Yes, it was. No, I have two quick winners, and then I have my loser. I'll be really fast because I know we're almost out of time here. But yes, I did have an op-ed. Thank you, Sean, for reading it. I really appreciate that. It was about Trump's EB-5 immigrant investor program. We talk a lot about immigration in this country when it comes to especially illegals, criminal illegals. And we know President Trump has done an incredible job of sealing the border, getting rid of criminals. But what people also need to look into is the fact that he is draining the brain power of other nations in the world, which I love, and bringing top entrepreneurs all around the world to America to invest in the American economy. This program adds about $185 billion to GDP. Every single investor that comes in, on average, adds 45 jobs to the U.S. economy. It's an amazing program. It is immigration as a weapon, not a weakness. So definitely recommend everyone check out this article because President Trump is doing so much. He doesn't even get credit for programs like this, and he really should. And I love it. I do want to give another quick winner, which is Bari Weiss being written up in the New York Times that she was essentially forced out of for selling the free press to Paramount. That is awesome. So I did want to just mention that quickly. And then losers of the week, Hassan Piker's dog.
It's the same reason as to why America, Kaya, please just fucking go, just stop. Jesus Christ, what are you doing? You're being such a baby.
Hassan Piker, again, revealing the left's hidden cruelty that's not so hidden, where the mask slips. In a live stream this week, he was using a shock collar on his dog, and the dog yelped. So it's not very positive. I hate to end the show on that kind of a note.
No, well, we won't, because
I was going to say the positive is I feel like this got so much attention that if there's like an animal, is it animal protective? It's not like child protective services. Some services, animal cruelty. This is certainly going to be investigated. So while the dog was the loser this week, I think the dog might be the winner next week.
Okay, we'll contact Animal Services, the Animal Welfare League. That's what we call it in Alexandria. Anyway, my winner of the week, you guys already took it, which is good because I want to give the Navy a shout out. President Trump and the Navy celebrating 250 years of amazing naval power and service. So thank you to the U.S. Navy and everything that's done. Great opportunity last Sunday to pay tribute, and in Philadelphia this week. My loser of the week, the entire Virginia ticket. What Jay Jones did is going to sink that entire ticket and propel everyone on the Republican side to victory. Thank you guys for being here. As I mentioned earlier, tomorrow, Robert Cahaley. Next week, we've got Senator Eric Schmidt, and on Monday, gubernatorial candidate Winsome Earl Sears. So always feel free to check out, hit subscribe and notification buttons. Remember, I've got a great column coming out tomorrow at SeanSpicer.com. Thanks for being here. We'll see you back here tomorrow on The Sean Spicer Show. Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.